Alright everyone, I've never really been a fan of Alex Jones. I like Paul Joseph Watson stuff's pretty good, but I've never really, been much into Infowars. Now though I'm reconsidering that, the logic of that, because I'm looking and seeing Alex Jones just getting basically everything he's ever done banned off Facebook. Again, with no apparent provocation. This follows in the wake of them getting partially kicked off YouTube and getting like a temporary suspension and stuff. They can't live stream, have to have a second channel. Spotify has banned all of their podcasts, and now Infowars is also off of Apple's products. Which basically means that for Normie America, Infowars doesn't exist. Now, the logic and reason behind this decision, which is obviously these corporations got together to do this because of pitchfork-waving mobs. Based on, well, he's like a vast conspiracy theorist, he's hateful. No, he's not. Can you show me anything on these shows that you've banned that actually rises? Is it criminal? It's not illegal, what he's saying. As far as I know, he doesn't sit there using slurs. In fact, for the most part, he keeps the swearing to a PG-13 level. I'm looking at these. Like Sarah Jiang can be there and literally like ramble about racial things all day. She's never going to get kicked off any platform. Everyone can talk to her. No boycotting of advertisers. Alex Jones says, oh, reptiles from space are going to get your mind or something, and everyone flips out. Alex Jones has been there since day one. It's like back in the Zeitgeist era, people are watching Infowars, dude. If you're so worried about, well, fake news and stuff, it's always been there. It's never been a problem before. Why is it that anyone is taking the claim seriously that these for-profit corporations, which are either monopolistic or form a trust, basically, because they can decide who is or is not evidently even on the internet at this point, because there are only a half dozen of them that control everything. How can you say that that's a free market of ideas and that these corporations should be number one trusted and number two tasked with deciding who should and should not be heard? I think it's a terrible idea. I'm proud to say I've never owned an Apple product. I've never owned an Apple product not because of this sort of crap, which is exactly what it is. It's fake moral grandstanding for a branding effort. They want to sell more cheap iPhones made by slaves over in China. It's not because of that. It's because their products are overpriced crap, honestly. Like if I got my laptop and it was an Apple instead of running Windows, it would cost twice as much for no real reason. It wouldn't work as well. So fuck Apple and fuck Tim Cook. He's a pseudoscience rambling idiot. And Steve Jobs basically just robbed other people of their ideas, and he dropped acid just enough times to say stupid pseudoscientific bullshit, and people would pat him on the back like he was a genius for saying something Buddhistic in nature, even though he didn't even understand the spiritual concepts behind what he was saying. As for Spotify, I didn't even know it still existed. And as for Facebook, it's a dying company. These big tech firms, don't you understand that when a large number of firms go after someone who is essentially fairly mild out there material and has been on these platforms for a fucking decade, don't you understand that they're doing this for a very clear political reason? There's two reasons that they're doing this. There's two reasons why they're trying to disappear Infowars, as it were. The first is money. It increases the quality of their brand because most people aren't Infowars viewers, and for every person that Infowars gains as a viewer, 2 or 3 people will say, oh, thank goodness they're kicking this evil conspiracy monger off of their websites. Now little Jimmy can use these websites freely and it'll be great. Now, of course, that's not even true. Like, they don't even know anything about Alex Jones except what they heard on BuzzFeed, so fuck them, basically. But that's one side, and the other side more direct. Their advertisers are the ones throwing a stink about having too much. You have bigots on your platform, conspiracy theorists, fake news, hateful people. Most of those labels don't even apply to who they're trying to apply them to, but it's a feel-good approach. It's basically, we're doing nothing while claiming to do something. It's a wonderful time. The other side's purely political. That is that the corporate backers of these tech firms also work with other corporations that have their hands in various politicians' pockets. None of these people like the anti-establishment alt media. And Alex Jones, his show is Missing Link Media. It's not true alt media. It's a corporate endeavor. It's a for-profit company. But it is semi-independent on all fronts. Like, it's not beholden to some parent company that also owns CNN and some cable group over in Romania. Like all these other groups, all these other media groups, they're owned by parent companies that are worth, 100 times more on paper, and most of them aren't based in the U.S. My feeling is this. Groups like Google, and Alphabet and all of its subgroups, Google and all of its subgroups, YouTube at this point and almost its subgroups, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Microsoft, groups that are essentially monopolistic and no longer exist technically inside of a capitalist system because they gatekeep and control the entire internet collectively as a non-competitive trust. There's Amazon and all these groups. These groups should not be kicking anybody off their platform except for one of two very good reasons. Number one, they are breaking the law under U.S. Penal Code. They're all U.S. firms. The biggest firms are all based in the United States. Number one, someone is violating our laws. And I don't mean, well, hey, you know, this person showed themselves on video double parking or something. Okay, nobody gives a fuck about that. I mean something substantial. A violent misdemeanor, a felony, something like that. Then kick him off your platform. Better yet, just refer him to the fucking police. You track everyone anyway. Number two, they're preventing others through spam, through, undue stalking or something from exercising their rights. They're invading someone else's privacy, invading someone else's First Amendment rights by preventing them from speaking, which on some platforms technically isn't even possible. So nobody can prevent you from uploading a YouTube video just because they spam. But they can prevent you from commenting effectively. Those are the only two legitimate reasons someone should not have a spot on these platforms. Yes, they should be rendered into public utilities. It has become infinitely obvious that these companies, two companies, control virtually everything with regards to app. Like the App Store, it's either Apple or Google. If it's not Apple or Google, you don't really exist because it's a monopoly. It's technically a trust. A monopoly is one company controls every part of some commercial endeavor. Like if there was no eBay, there was no Alibaba or something, Amazon would be a monopoly. For instance, it's got the largest e-commerce market share. If it weren't for a few viable competitors, it would be a monopoly. Essentially, though, in other situations, you have 3 or 4 companies maybe that control everything. Like you have 2 companies that control everything phone-related. It's either Apple or Google. That's really it. If it's an app, it's from Google or it's from Apple's store. There's not a whole lot else going on. That's like 99% of the market share, some insane number. That's called a trust. These companies don't really compete with one another, and nobody else can compete with them. They have an unspoken sort of non-aggression pact between them to keep other people out of the app stores because it's lucrative. They want money, but that's not capitalism. It's not a free market. It's not a free market of ideas either when they begin squishing out stuff on behalf of their corporate sponsors. If we relegated these companies, the largest companies, if they have above a certain arbitrary market share into public utilities, they would actually make more money. I'll tell you why. Those corporations advertising with them would still be willing to do so. It's just that now those companies wouldn't even have to police much of their content. They would make more money. They would need fewer staff in order to police content. Other countries wouldn't be able to influence U.S. policy through the use of perturbing these internet sites. A big thing that we're seeing right now is that foreign nations are attempting to lean on U.S. firms to squish out information that they don't like. To change this article, we don't like it, it's blasphemous or it's insulting or something. We should prevent US-based big tech firms from cooperating with foreign states to the best of our ability. And I'm not saying this because, I'm livid. Alex Jones, who I love so fucking much, has been kicked off of Facebook. I don't even fucking use Facebook at this point. Facebook is shit. Anyone still using Facebook actively, what are you doing with your life? What's the fucking point of giving them info they're going to sell to foreign companies anyway? Zuckerberg is a turd. He barely even looks like a human being. He's part of the uncanny valley at this point. No, the reason I'm saying this is that it's a slippery slope. First, they went for people who are supposedly violent. You remember they kicked Daily Stormer off or something. Now they're going after Alex Jones. Why? He's generically hateful, which isn't even true. Have you actually watched his material? And he's a conspiracy theorist. I don't care if he's a conspiracy theorist. The concept that fake news is, number one, particularly pernicious and prevalent, number two, specifically malevolent in nature and being peddled on purpose, is wrong. That's never been the case. The internet has always had a very large weird side component to it. What, are you going to kick 4chan off unless they erase the paranormal board? Oh, well, stuff that's creepy, spooky woo is spread there. It's a big problem. You don't like it? Then don't patronize the material. Go elsewhere. Go watch fucking CNN or Barney and Friends because it's about your mental level. That's about all. Peace out.